Come on. All right, guys, welcome to day number 11 of the Grass Clippings Open Qualifier Prep Series. So I'm going to keep working on my wedges. What I'm going to focus on is taking spin off the golf ball. I know most of us are trying to add more backspin. I might work on that tomorrow, but today I'm going to talk about taking spin off for when I have a back pin, I'm trying to chase my ball in there, or if I have a front pin and I'm not trying to spin it off the front of the green. Now you have 4 big things you need to think about when it comes to spin, other than the equipment you're using and is it clean and what golf ball are you hitting, because those are the prerequisites, but those things should already be taken care of before you hit. The first thing is, where are you striking the golf ball in the face? If you hit this ball very high on the face up here, you're going to take spin off, and if you hit it lower on the face, that tiger strike area, that bottom groove, you're going to have the most spin you're going to get on a golf shot. Well, I'm trying to always make a tiger strike. I'm always trying to make solid contact. I don't want to try and hit it high in the face to take off spin because I can't control how much spin's coming off it. So will it affect my backspin? Absolutely, but not in a good way because it's kind of unpredictable, out of my control. So there are 3 things you can do that are more in your control. Number 1, control the loft. Do you choose the sand wedge, the gap wedge, or the pitching wedge? Which is also going to affect your speed. If you choose less loft like the pitching wedge versus the gap wedge, well, you also have to swing it slower. So less loft and a slower swing takes spin off. The second thing is angle of attack. The more I hit down on the ball, the more backspin I'm going to have, and the more my angle of attack is very shallow through the golf ball, the less spin I'll have. And then the final thing is your path. The more you swing in to out to the right, that takes spin off the golf ball, and you cut across it from right to left like a fade, it adds backspin on the golf ball. Now the final thing you can do to make your ball not spin backwards, even though it might not take away spin, is to drive the ball in lower. If you can hit something more punchy so that descent angle is very shallow, it's not coming in high like a parachute, that can make your ball drive forward even if it still has a lot of spin. So those are the things you can play with to make your ball not spin back. Let's try each one and let's see how it affects the numbers. All right, first things first, let's go ahead and hit a 100-yard shot with my sand wedge, try and get a tiger strike, normal swing, and let's see what a baseline of spin is for me and what it looks like it's doing on the green in terms of backspin. Okay, look down, tiger struck it, very solid shot, hit my number, so let's see what it does. 11,000 RPMs of backspin. Okay, now this is me hitting a draw, let's see how much it takes off. First, it was tiger struck, which is good. Hit my number, basically. Spin down to 9,100. Okay, so now I'm going up to my gap wedge, taking extra club, which means I have less loft. I'm going to hit it slower, and let's see how it changes my spin. Okay, I can go much smoother on it. Again, struck it nice. Hit my number. The spin is 8,900, so it came down again. All right, now on this one, I'm back to my sand wedge, but I'm going to drive it low. The spin should be high, but the low trajectory should make it not spin backwards. Okay, so I drove it super low, flew 100 yards, and you see how that ball released? The spin was still at 10,000, but the ball released forward because I drove it so low. All right, just for the last reference now, I'm going to try and add spin by hitting more of a cut shot, and watch how the spin changes here. Okay, definitely ripped across it. Nice clean strike. Hit it maybe a yard far, but the spin is 12,000 now. All right, so looking at that test, I thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, to go from my stock shot, which was around 11,000 RPMs of spin, then my draw shot and the one where I took that extra club and hit it softer, it took off about 2,000 RPMs of spin. Then I went back to the fade, and then all of a sudden I increased 1,000 RPMs of spin. And again, that just shows you the power of spin loft, which is just a fancy technical term for saying how much loft do we have, how much angle of attack do we have, and what is our path. Again, the more loft we have, the more we hit down, and the more we swing from out to in like we're hitting a pull fade, the more potential spin loft or the more potential backspin we can have. And if we do the inverse of those things, the more we can take spin off. So when we're looking at it, the first thing I want to say is, again, there's certain variables you can get right off the bat. You know, when we're talking about taking spin off, we still want to control the amount of spin. It's not just about taking it off at all costs. If I wanted to take it off at all costs, I would take a bunch of practice swings in the rough and I would take big chunky divots. And what I would try and do is I'd try and get as much dirt and mud and grass and water, whatever I can get on the ground. I'd want to get as much debris on this club face as possible because that's going to take off spin tremendously. And I would try and hit this ball very high on the face. That would take off spin tremendously. The problem is I can't control it when I'm doing it like that. I want my face to be clean. I want this to be an empty canvas that is going to perform the same way every single time. I don't want an unpredictable element in there. Same thing with hitting the ball on that first groove down here. I always want to try my best to make a tiger strike, because if I hit it 2, 3, 4, 5 grooves up, I can introduce that debris or that grass and that dirt between the ball and the face because I'm scraping it coming into it. And now I can't control how much my ball is going to spin. Yes, again, it's going to take off the spin, but it's a game of control. So if I can hit that bottom groove and I can have my face be clean and I have a good, relatively new golf ball, I put the elements in my favor to have predictability. From there, I can learn the skill of taking off spin. Again, the skill is learning to take an extra club. Instead of using my sand wedge, take my gap wedge, which has less loft, and learn to hit it smoother or with less speed. That's one way to make a skill. Again, the other one is learn to hit more of a draw. Because if I swing more in to out, which also naturally makes me hit more up on it, that's going to take off spin. Or if I'm not comfortable doing that, hit more of a punch shot like I hit there, because it might not take off spin, but it just drives it forward and it can't back up as much. Whichever one you want, again, I want this to be a game of skill, not a game of rolling the dice. We don't want to introduce luck into the equation any more than we have to. Now, the key is you got to find which player you are. I'll give you an example. I'm a really good punch player. I'm really good about putting the ball back in my stance, leaning the shaft forward, and hammering down on it and trying to drive it in there. It's just the shot I've trained my whole life because it's comfortable, and I can do that pretty well. I'm okay at hitting the draw. Not perfectly great at it. I'm okay. Sometimes I can underdraw it. Sometimes I can kind of flip it over and hook it a little bit. But for the most part, I'm going to make solid contact. I'm pretty good about at least making sure it turns somewhat. I just don't have full control of it. What I'm not good at is I'm not good at taking extra club and just swinging slower. Now, it's a skill I have to get better at because that's the way you want to play into the wind. I know we worked on wedges today, but it's a very important skill for into the wind, especially if it starts blowing hard. But I've just never been particularly good at it because I haven't trained it very much. Normally, when you're not good at something, it's easy to not train it because you don't want to lose confidence and not have fun out there. But when I do that, it always feels like I kind of slow down, I give up on it, my hands take over, and I either hit it fat or I kind of hit a pull hook, which is not really my common miss. I'm normally more of a pusher. But if I trained it more, I'd probably get pretty good at it. So what's the moral of that story? Well, first off, you should try all 3 shots to take off spin and see which one you're naturally good at. That's always the one you should start with, and then learn to get good at that one particular skill. Now, even though, like I said, I'm not very good at taking extra club and swinging slower, in a perfect world, you're not going to be a one-trick pony. You should be a well-rounded pony. If you're normally good at the punch shot like I am, eventually you should get better at the draw. And eventually you should get better at taking extra club and swinging slower and smoother because it's a very important skill. Over time, you might find that those have different purposes to pull out, and you might actually be better at one shot that you weren't originally better at in the beginning because you gave it time and practice. So again, whatever your journey is to getting there, those are your options. I always start with the one you do best. I try and round out my skills with all of them. But as long as you understand those are your options to take off spin in a practical and controlled manner, then you can start to tackle it. From there, it gets fun. From there, it becomes course management. Again, you have front pins, try and land one pin high and let it skip just past to the middle of the green. You have a back pin, try and land it like 2/3 back into the green and see if you can drive one in there or let one run and release in that back flag to make it really safe. Then all of a sudden, when you get good at it, you can kind of navigate low shots under the tree. You're not so intimidated when it's into the wind. It's just a really, really good skill to have. And especially with wedges. I can't remember who said the quote. A very, very good golfer. I'm spacing on it for whatever reason. But I think it might have even been Ben Hogan, but I can't remember. But they said, show me the golfer who hits full wedges, and I'm going to play that guy for money. Because when you hit full wedges, again, it's your best chance of spinning it back. But when you start sucking the ball back a bunch, you just don't have very much control. Because there's different elements that go on. Sometimes the green is more firm or more soft in certain areas. Sometimes you land into a tier with a steep slope, and sometimes you land on the flat, and it's going to completely change how much that ball spins back. But if you're great at knocking down wedges and minimizing that spin, it's pretty easy to make a ball hit, skip, and stop pretty predictably. So very, very important skill to have. When you're a 30 handicap, it's not the most important skill. It's a nice skill to have and something you want to start introducing. as you start to get down to like a 20 or 10, you want to be able to pull that shot off once in a while. And as you get closer to scratch, especially if you ever want to play competitive golf, it's a shot that everybody needs to have. So it's going to round out your skills. It's going to make you uncomfortable, which I think there's something to be said for that as well. Because if you can get good at hitting shots that are uncomfortable, your natural full shots are going to feel even more comfortable. And again, as your skill progresses and you catch up to it, it's going to be an easier transition into good golf. So now you have some tools to take off spin. Again, I highly recommend practicing it. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Till tomorrow.